Hey everyone, it's me. And today we are going to discuss a truth so terrifying that if you hear it, you might just die of boredom. Are you ready? Here goes nothing. The mind-numbing truth is how history can be absolutely boring. That's right. History can be absolutely effing boring. It's one of the most excruciatingly tedious subjects ever known to mankind. And I should know because I've been stuck studying it since I was a tiny little baby in diapers who could barely speak or read. No joke. My mom used to find me reading through my dad's National Geographic magazines when I was 3. She even caught me trying to read Shogun by James Clavell when I was 8. Yeah, I have no idea what that says about me either, but point being, I love history. Yet I can admit it can be absolutely boring. What makes it worse is that you're made to memorize everything that you read, or at least most of it. Like, seriously, memorizing names of every king or queen of England, French centers, Roman emperors, or anything else for that matter, just to let it all slip out of your brain within a few weeks or months is really infuriating. If there's one thing that history has taught me, it's that memorizing things that you will forget is a terrible way of learning. But unfortunately, that's how school works. And that's why so many students hate history. Hell, I hated history until I learned how to study smarter, not harder. So if you think history is boring, then you've come to the right place. This is for anyone who wants to learn history but doesn't want to fall asleep in the process. In this video, I'll teach you how I learn history and how you can use it to ace your exam. Without further ado, let's get started. There are 3 parts to understanding history: the past, the why, and the so what. These 3 parts are the foundation to everything that you need to know about any event or period of time. We'll start with the past. The past is pretty straightforward. It's whatever happened at a certain time, good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter. When studying history, you have to understand that there are millions upon billions of events in the past. Your job is to sift through all of them and figure out which ones are important enough to remember. As a student, that can seem incredibly daunting, but it doesn't have to be. Remember our definition of boring from earlier? Yep. This is where things get boring. You literally have to spend hours upon hours reading through countless pages upon pages of text to find those special events. Ugh. It sucks, I know. And the only way to make it less excruciating is to focus. Not only do you need to stay focused while doing this, but you also need to develop the ability to analyze and synthesize new information. Learn more about how you can train your brain to do this in my video, How to Improve Your Concentration. Once you've found the special events, it's time to move on to the second part, the why. Why did something happen? The whys are actually my favorite part of history because this is where you get to understand how the world works, how people think, and ultimately what makes us human. This is the part where you really have to flex your brain muscles. Because now you have to examine the evidence and try to answer that why question. The key to answering these questions is to understand how historical events relate to each other. For example, if you're studying World War II and you're trying to figure out why Germany invaded Poland, you can't look at that question in isolation. You have to understand why Germany was the way that it was, why Europe was the way that it was, and why the world was the way that it was. Spoiler alert, it was bananas. Once you figure out the answer to the why, you'll never forget it. Trust me. Finally, we arrive at the last part, the so what. The so what is arguably the most important part of history, and yet most students completely ignore it, and that's probably why they don't understand why history is so damn important. So what is the purpose of any historical event? How did it affect the world around it? How did it change the world? Why should you care about this event? Why should I care about this event? And above all, what does this event say about us as humans? Asking yourself these, so what questions will not only help you to remember the event, but it'll also help you see the bigger picture. Understanding the bigger picture is super important for exams, trust me. Okay, so now that we've got the framework down, let's talk about how you can study history effectively. First, you want to take a big piece of paper and divide it into 3 columns. Label the first column the past. In the middle column, label it the why. And finally, In the third column, label it the so what. Now here's what you want to do. Take a book or an online article and skim through it. As you're skimming, keep an eye out for major events. Once you find one, ask yourself, what's the why behind this event? And once you think you have an answer, write it down. Finally, ask yourself a bunch of so what questions and write down the answers. By the end of this exercise, you should have a fairly comprehensive list of events along with their whys and their so whats. Boom! Now you've taken something that used to be incredibly boring and made it simple. Plus, by taking notes like this, you're training your brain to recognize patterns. Recognizing patterns is essential for truly understanding history. Speaking of training your brain, it's time for a quick break. Okay? So now that you've broken down history into digestible chunks, it's time to put it back together again. Think of it like putting a puzzle together. At first, you have a bunch of random pieces scattered all over the place, but as you slowly start to connect the edges, a beautiful image starts to emerge. That's exactly what you want to do with your notes. Start by connecting the dots between each event. Ask yourself, how does this event connect to this other event? Or how did this event cause that event? Or how did this event influence that event? Once you've connected all the dots, you can start to see the big picture. This is the ultimate goal of studying history. If you want to level up your note-taking game, I suggest drawing timelines and flowcharts. This isn't something that I used to do, but after implementing it into my studies, I realized how effective it is. Drawing timelines and flowcharts forces you to look at history in a non-linear fashion. Instead of focusing on one event at a time, you're forced to see how multiple events are interconnected. This helps you to develop a deeper understanding of the subject matter, which is exactly what you want when studying history. When you're done making connections, it's time to take the final step, synthesizing your notes. Synthesizing is basically where you put everything together and draw conclusions based on your findings. So, for example, let's say you're studying the French Revolution. You've gone through all the events, found the whys, and asked the so what questions. You've connected all the dots and drawn timelines and flowcharts. Now it's time to synthesize all that information and draw some conclusions. What were the long-term effects of the French Revolution? How did it change the way we think about government? What does it say about us as humans? These are the types of questions that you need to be asking yourself as you synthesize your notes. Doing this will not only help you to remember what you've learned, but it'll also help you to develop a deeper understanding of the subject matter. And that's it. Now, history isn't boring, and you can actually learn it without pulling out your hair. There's a lot more tips and tricks that I could share with you, but I'm going to leave that for another video. Instead, I want to hear from you. What tips and tricks have you developed for learning history? Share them in the comments below. Who knows? Maybe you'll help someone out. And hey, if you're still watching this video, you might as well hit that subscribe button and become part of the awesome community. Thanks for watching. See you next time.